Okay, let's talk about something that is just so confusing and painful. Have you ever gone to the ends of the earth for someone? I mean, you were their rock. You gave them everything you had. You basically bent over backwards to make sure they were okay. And then, poof, they're gone. Or even worse, they've somehow flipped the script and started treating you like you're the bad guy. I want you to know it's probably not because you did something wrong. It's actually because of this really painful, kind of backwards psychological pattern that we're going to unpack. It's that feeling, right? The one that keeps you up at night just replaying everything in your head, thinking, what did I miss? Where did I go wrong? You know you were a good friend. You know you were generous. But the way things ended up just makes absolutely no sense. So let's get into it, because the answer here isn't about what you did. It's all about how they reacted to it. And this quote right here, wow, it just hits the nail on the head. For some people, your goodness is a mirror they cannot stand to face. Think about that. Your kindness, your stability, your ability to just handle things, it's like you're holding up a mirror. But when they look into it, they don't see your generosity. No, they see a reflection of everything they feel they're not. And for some people, looking at that reflection is just, it's too much to bear. All right, so let's break this down. This is the first and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. We all grow up thinking that help is a gift, right? It's a kind thing to do. But here's the twist. For an adult who's really struggling, getting that help can feel a lot less like a gift and a whole lot more like an attack on their ego. This shoe tying analogy is just perfect for explaining it. You know, if you tie a little kid's shoes, that's just helpful. They're grateful. But imagine you're constantly tying the shoes for another adult. Maybe that means finding them a job or cleaning up their messes or giving them yet another chance. Every time you do that, even with the best intentions, you're not so subtly reminding them of the version of themselves they hate, the one that's struggling, the one that can't do it on their own. And here's why that's such a huge deal. Your very presence becomes the proof of their struggle. You saw them at their worst. You represent that weak version of them they're trying to forget. You're basically a walking, talking memory of their lowest point. And for some people, honestly, they would rather set the entire bridge on fire and watch it burn than have to look at the person who built it for them every single day. Okay, so what happens after that? Once their ego feels threatened, you'd think maybe they'd get over it, right? Nope. Something really weird starts to happen to the gratitude they're supposed to feel for you. It begins to curdle. It starts to turn toxic. This is a concept I call the rotting debt. It's when the debt of gratitude is just so massive, so huge, they feel like there's no way they could ever possibly repay you. And instead of that debt being forgiven or forgotten, it does the opposite. It sits there and it rots, curdling into this quiet, nasty resentment that just simmers under the surface. And you'll notice it, but it's subtle. They're not going to sit you down and have a big talk about it. It's going to show up as them suddenly pulling away, a little bit of coldness in their voice. You know, those little stinging comments that just seem to come out of nowhere. You might even watch them become super close with someone who's done absolutely nothing for them. And you know why? Because that new person, they're a clean slate. They never saw them when they were down. So to deal with the guilt of treating you so badly, their brain has to do this little magic trick. It literally rewrites history. Suddenly that huge favor you did? It wasn't that big of a deal. The kindness you showed? Actually, you were being really controlling. Them being at rock bottom? Nope, that's not the story anymore. The new story is that you had some hidden agenda. And the craziest part is, they're not just lying to you. They're convincing themselves that this new story is true. It's the only way they can live with themselves, by making you the villain. Okay, so understanding all this is a huge step. But now what? How do you stop this from happening again? The answer isn't to just stop being a kind person or to build a wall around your heart. No. It's about learning to be a little smarter about it. It's about shifting from just giving to what we can call wiser giving. And the first thing we need to get is this idea of the lifeline trap. Think about it. When you make yourself the only thing standing between a person and their absolute rock bottom, you're not really their friend anymore. You've become their excuse. You're the safety net that means they never actually have to learn to fly. And in a weird, twisted way, they will eventually come to resent you for being the very thing that saved them. So what does this wiser giving actually look like in practice? Well, it really boils down to two main things. They're simple, but they are so powerful. First, start watching people's patterns, not just believing their promises. And second, Make sure you're giving from a full cup, not an empty one. Let's talk about those patterns for a second. Here's a really good test for any relationship. Watch how they react when something good happens to you. Are they genuinely happy for you? Like, does their face light up when you share your success? Or is there a little flicker of something else, a bit of envy behind that smile? Do they only seem to be warm and friendly when they need something from you? You have to remember, patterns don't lie. People do. And that leads us right into that second point, which this one's about looking in the mirror yourself. Ask yourself this: are you giving to help or are you giving to feel useful? Because if your giving comes from a place of needing to feel valuable, you're going to attract people who are looking for a service provider, not a real connection. Giving should come from a place of, I have so much I want to share, not from a place of, please love me, I'll do anything. Which brings us to the final and honestly the most important part of all of this. It's about realizing your own worth. And I mean your inherent worth, the value you have just by being you, completely separate from what you can do for anybody else.
I really want you to hear this. It is not your job to be the project manager for someone else's healing journey, especially if they haven't even decided to start the project themselves. Your value as a person was there long before you helped them, and guess what? It'll still be there long after they're gone. So if you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this quote. Let it really sink in. You've always deserved to be someone's equal, not just their lifeline. You are never the problem. And you deserve relationships where you are loved for who you are, not just for what you can provide. Don't ever forget that.